Well, we're back on the boat. We're in the little place where the crane lifts you up. And it's Saturday morning. There's the controls for the crane. And they put us in, and now I'm here warming up the engines. And the boat is filthy. So it's a big wash job today. We're going to back out here out of the little lift area and go around these two boats over here to our new slip for the next 3 or 4 days. But other than the thing being a little dirty for basically 3 weeks on the hard, we are going to be back in the water.
Well, we are finally leaving Holland. We pulled away from the fuel dock about 8:15, and we are making our way south again. We just have to get out of this bay. There are some clouds, but it's supposed to be light winds and pretty good seas. So we have a 2-day window, and then it blows up again. So today's it. We left the boat in Holland, Michigan and rented a car because we wanted to drive back and see family. So we went to Arkansas and Louisiana, back to Houston, Texas, and then Austin, Texas, then back up to Arkansas and to Holland, Michigan. We stopped a lot of places and we antiqued a lot of little towns. Chris finally got to have a real po' boy, roast beef po' boy from a place in Baton Rouge. And then we were with his brother in Covington. We came across this little baby alligator.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. He used his phone and he had the sound of a mother alligator calling a baby alligator. And he played it, and this little baby alligator came out right by the side of the road. Yep. He said last week when his grandkids were there, 6 of them came out and said it. But it was pretty cool.
Yep.
I was watching for the mama. And then in Texas, we went through Marshall, Texas, which is my hometown, and I drove by my grandmother's old house. It was nostalgic. But we had a good time on
our trip,
trip, and saw a lot of family and saw Houston again and ate in all my favorite restaurants. The theme here is the food.
Yeah. And then we ended up staying in Holland a few more days because of the weather, but we finally were able to leave.
And we left Holland, and the plan was to go to St. Joe. The weather was pretty nice. Again, around noontime, though, the weather blew up again, and it was pretty rough by the time that we entered St. Joe.
Well, we are coming into St. Joseph's. So we just came in the channel to St. Joseph's, St. Joe's, and we're going to come into this marina. This is the marina you don't have to wait for the bridge for, so that's why we chose this one.
The bridge is open.
The bridge is open, but we don't have to wait for it in the morning, so that'll be good. So this is West Basin Marina, and we've got a nice big slip, my understanding. So
it's all good. This is gonna be a snap. Okay.
So we spent one night in St. Joe's. It was a really cute town. We took an Uber over the bridge because our marina was on the other side of the channel from the downtown area. But the restaurant was real good. The town was cute. I wish we could have stayed there a little longer. But we had good weather the next day and we had to leave. In order to get the good weather, we had to leave at 6 a.m. And one thing we said we would never do is leave when it was dark, and it was dark, and it looks like this. Basically, we couldn't see anything. I was pretty nervous doing this, and I was nervous until the sun came up. It was an easy out though, and we just were right off the channel, and then the channel took us right into the lake. But it's still pretty nerve-wracking in the dark.
Yeah, the key to it is just go slow, and you can see a little better than this. But you go slow and take it easy.
I was nervous also about the weather because they had predicted that it was going to get kind of rough later. So that's the reason we left so early, is because I was very glad that the prediction was right, because it was nice in the morning.
Good morning. We're on Lake Michigan still, but we're getting close to the end. It's early, 7:30. The sunrise is not till like 7:50, but we can see now. We got away early this morning, like Laura said, and we got a really nice day. We're trying to make it to Hammond. We're not far from shore. Let's get over there. Just traveling along we're just traveling along the rim of the lake here, trying to stay out of the wind. So far it's working.
We left at dark this morning, and 6 o'clock a.m. and it is now 1:30, and we are approaching Chicago. So Chicago's in the distance. We're not staying in Chicago. We're going to Hammond Marina, but Chicago is there, and we are finishing our time in Lake Michigan. It started off really nice this morning, and it's been rolling for about an hour or so, but maybe a little bit longer. But we are finally going to be done with Lake Michigan. We've got a 30-minute jump in a couple of days to get into the Calumet River system, or canal. So that's the last time we'll have to be on the lake. But it's been a beautiful. The sun's coming out. We were afraid we were going to get rained on. We never did. So it's been a great day. I just don't like the rollies, and I'm really glad to be off the water, off the lake. I'm going to be really glad to be off the lake. The next day, we and Katya and Swen on Riker took the train into Chicago from the little town where Hammond Marina is located. And it was a nice ride. It was probably like 30-40 minutes, something like that. But we walked around downtown, and
you may have noticed, if you're looking
and then we
left
took
or
the
right,
architecture
that
tour.
there is a river walk along the Chicago River. This is called the Chicago River Walk, and it was completed between 2014 and 2016. So, in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and even in the early 2000s, nobody wanted to be around the Chicago River. The river was dirty, it was polluted, it was smelly, and it wasn't that great to look at. But city officials, with the help of the Clean Water Act, said, you know what, we're going to clean up this river. And so any buildings that are rehabbed or built along the river now have to allow space for river walks so people can enjoy it. There's restaurants, there's shops, there's museums, there's places just to kind of hang out. So that's the Chicago River Walk.
We did stop and have deep dish pizza, which was really good. On another day, the next day, we went back into Chicago, and we went to the aquarium, which was a really nice aquarium.
It was very nice. Had beluga whales, otter. I guess they had more than one.
I know we didn't see too many of them, but they were in there. They had a penguin exhibit, which was really good too, and Katya and I enjoyed watching the penguins messing around.
But it was like a big aquarium. We had whales and dolphins. Usually don't see that in an aquarium. And then they had the big reef tank. It was beautiful. And I really, really wanted to catch a walleye while I was in the Great Lakes, and I never did. But here's two of them that I got my picture taken with. They would have been better with tartar sauce. And then we had a big meeting the night before we left with our whole flotilla at the yacht club. And the next morning we were pulling out to
head down the Calumet.
Yeah.
So we had to This was the day before we were scheduled to go down the actual locks that had been closed. So you had to leave Hammond Marina and get to Joliet, which was our staging area. And so this is where we're leaving.
We were scheduled to leave on the 12th, but we got pushed back 8 days. So we never thought we would be in a position where we'd be leaving Chicago, on the 19th of 20th of October.
Yeah.
And we had to, it was a big parade of 15, 16 boats out of the marina, and we all got queued up and headed off.
Well, we are finally on our way. We left about 6:45 this morning. We see Chicago in the distance there, behind the haze. We are in our flotilla of 16 this morning. We're going to catch up. 2 more boats are going to catch up with us in a little bit. And we will finally be off of Lake Michigan. We have about a 2-mile run from Hammond Marina to the Calumet. And that's where we're headed now. And we're going to start the river system. I'm excited. I'm excited to get moving again. So we're basically in the middle of the pack, and we have boats following us this morning. And then we also have about 2/3 of the pack in front of us. There's been some beautiful, beautiful places in Michigan. And Lake Michigan is a beautiful lake, but it's very, in October, it's very unforgiving. It's very volatile. Even in September. In September, we would have 1 day of travel and 4 days that we would have to sit and wait. So we've been waiting in Hammond a week, and we were only supposed to be waiting a couple of days. We only got there a couple days early, and then because of weather and waves, we had to wait about a week. One point, the waves right outside our marina were 10 feet. They were breaking over the break wall of the marina. We were not going out at that. There have been lots of bridges coming through Chicago. Look at that. 1, 2, 3 right in front of us. This is the first lock on the Calumet. We only had 2 locks before we got to Joliet. And this particular lock was so big that all 16 of us were able to tie up to the side of the wall. This was the first lock that we have been in since Canada, since we ended on the Trent Severn at the end of July, beginning of August, somewhere in there. And so again, I was nervous because it had been a while since we did locks, and these locks are so big. They're so much bigger than the ones in Canada. But it was a good experience. The lockmasters were fabulous and wonderful and helpful, but there's a lot of boats there. We didn't have to raise up very much on this lock, so it was pretty easy. And the people that were helping actually put it around the bollard for me. I felt like these locks were a little bit easier because we didn't have to tie off to the back too, so I didn't have to worry about Chris grabbing a line in the back. But it was an easy out. Again, we all had our own section, so we just all left as a big flotilla as we were going, a little bit further down the river. The next lock we had to raft up. And I know the first time we rafted, I was super nervous. But it's really not something to be nervous about. The more you do it, the better you get at it, obviously. But you just have to go slow and talk to the people. And then also, Chris and I had to talk to each other.
It's easier when it's not pouring down rain, too.
That's true. So it is a little hairy whenever it starts to rain, but I prefer rain to wind any day. But we ended up making friends with people on our flotilla because we're tied up to them, and sometimes it takes an hour for everybody to get in, and then for the lock to raise or lower or whatever's happening, and to get off again. So We made some pretty good friends rafted up.
Oh yeah.
So it's a slow. You just have to go slow as you're leaving, and sometimes you talk to the other people and you say, "We go first" or "You go first," and sometimes it just is all organic. We got really good at it by the end of our flotilla.
And then we got to Joliet, and the flotilla, big long string of boats. We all had to turn and find a place on the public wall there, and we started turning, and I ended up getting behind the boat that was behind us. That was the first boat, I guess, or the second boat maybe. And we pulled in, and here was the trick. There was nobody working there, so Laura had to lasso the cleat by herself.
I hate this. I hate doing it.
And she got all ready, got her rope ready. She threw it, and they don't make it easy for it because they put a chain on top of the over the cleat. But she lassoed it and got a perfect one. And then there's kind of a view down the lock with all the boats, and Riker's
we were rafted again.
Yeah, everybody had to raft except the first two boats. And it's endless. There's another flotilla or 5 flotillas behind you, so you can't stop any place for more than a night because somebody else is going to take your spot that afternoon.
And our flotilla leader called the lock in the morning to find out what time do you want us there, and then that would be when we would start leaving. To give us time to get to the lock itself.
You are at the mercy of when the lock guys are willing to let all these boats in without barges being in there. So he says, "Well, come early," and he tells you what time, and you sort of kind of work backwards to try to be there at the time that he tells you to get there. So we pulled out and went down
Illinois.
The Illinois. We're on the Illinois River now, and then here's the lock. After that, we had to. There's lots of locks, so I'll show you. Here's us rafting up to somebody else, and they're watching us and we're watching them and going slow, and then the people out on the deck are deciding where to go and where to stop and what rope is going to be tied to which cleat on their boat.
Usually the person, we are rafting to Paradise, so we would give them our lines and they would tie it off of their boat or just wrap it around and give it back to me. It just depended on the situation.
Every boat has cleats in different places, so you have to get there and say, oh well, let's take this one here and this one here, and which may be totally different the next time you do it. And then once we get tied up, we'll go on the other side of the boat and tie up the person who's going to raft to us. And you see there's 3 of the 3 boats in front of us, so there'll be 3 of us too. Well, we're pulling out of Henry's, which was a great place. We stayed out on the old lock. And we're just sort of floating down the river waiting for Riker. He's at the fuel dock back there. We fueled up last night and then stayed on the fuel dock, and so he's getting gas now. And then when he comes and catches up, we'll head to our next stop, which is Peoria. We're going to Peoria Boat Club, I think it's called. It's about 33 miles. Okay. They're awesome. What about me?
Yeah, okay, Chris, you're awesome too. You gotta include that. So we're in Quiver Island Anchorage, with about 7 other boats. So we got in here and there were already 3 boats in, and we came in and Riker came in after us. We were hoping to get closer to each other, but just didn't work out. So we're gonna dinghy over to Riker and we're gonna have dinner with them. It's really a pretty anchorage. We haven't been in the dinghy since North Channel. I guess whaleback.
Yeah.
So.
No, we didn't go in there.
Oh no, we didn't. You're right. We haven't been in the dinghy since
Bad River.
Bad River? I don't know where. It was somewhere in the North Channel. The next morning, we left the Quiver Island anchorage and headed on down the river. Still on the Illinois River. Just to backtrack a little bit, we left Joliet and we went to Heritage Harbor, which is a great marina. And then we went to Henry's and Peoria, Quiver Island, and we left Quiver Island and we're going to anchor tonight at LaGrange Lock. We didn't do good with getting all kinds of video at the where we stopped, so we apologize. It's beautiful here. This is really what it kind of looks like all the way up and down the rivers. Is this? It's a little more desolate than we expected, but it's very pretty, and the leaves are changing color, so it was gorgeous. And then as we came across this little, I guess, fishing camp area, I thought, I haven't seen houses on stilts since the Gulf, or since the oceans. But I guess this tells you how much the rivers really come out of their banks because they have to have their houses up.
You have that lock or whatever that is inside?
Yes, we see the
So here we are pulling in to raft at Mel's restaurant in Hardin, which is one of the famous places. We had a great dinner right at the restaurant up there on the right. And
up the hill, yeah.
Yeah, here's Laura. She finally was able to hit two people with the rope at one time.
Not on purpose.
And they weren't sitting next to each other. Poor Katia.
So I keep thinking I'm getting better, but then I keep hitting people in the face. So I don't think it's ever going to get better. But again, that we rafted with Riker a lot, so it turns out great. We left Mel's restaurant and traveled about 20 miles, and we ended up at Grafton Harbor in Grafton, Illinois. This is really close to where Jody and Mike live on No Agenda, and they've already crossed their wake. So Jody came over, and she and I and Katya and Swin on Riker, we took the ski lift up to a winery on the top of the mountain right there in Grafton. And here you can see where the Illinois flows into the Mississippi River, and it was just beautiful. Beautiful area. While we were up there, a cold front came through and dropped the temperature. And it dropped the temperature so much that night we were in the 20s. We were like 26, 27 degrees. It was unbelievable. And we found out that in Holland, Michigan, where we had been just a few weeks earlier, they had 7 inches of snow. I'm like, I need to get south. I need to be out of winter. So, but it's a beautiful area, and we're so happy that we got here and we're able to see Jody and Mike. We had 2 months of just stalling and waiting for the locks to open up. We had that long car trip. We did a lot of things while we were there. But, and then once we got on the rivers, it was just, a slog to get down. We had to wait. We had long days waiting for locks with lots of boats in our flotilla. And we had to keep moving because there was 8 more flotillas that are behind us. So I know it sounds like I'm complaining, but I'm really not. It's just that Chris and I kind of like, taking our time and going to, restaurants and just enjoying everything. And we really just had to keep moving on this. But we're at a place now where we can go a little bit slower. There's still a lot more locks to go, but we're going to enjoy the rest of our time. Join us next week as we tour St. Louis and continue our journey down the Mississippi River.